Special thanks to the Marines and for Laura for their support this morning. A special thank you also to Mr. Jeff Lyons for performing the flyover, which was a vintage 1967 Army Kiowa helicopter, hundreds of which were used in various missions during the Vietnam War. Mr. Lyons' Kiowa helicopter will be on static display for the duration of the memorial shortly after the opening ceremony. Everybody can please be seated. To help get our heads in the right place for this morning's ceremony, I would like to share with you the following experience I had recently. Just before Memorial Day this year, I and my 3-year-old great-granddaughter were helping to install with others approximately 3,000 American flags on the graves of the military veterans in the Catskill Cemetery. As I was bent over installing a flag, my great-granddaughter took my Vietnam veteran hat off and put it on her head. A few minutes later, a young Cub Scout saw it and asked what it said on the hat. I told him and quickly mentioned about the war he had never heard of. He got into his car, and I heard him say, "Mom, that man fought in the Vietnam War." She turned, looked at me in disgust, and sped off. This misconception of the men and women who fought in that war is still alive in the minds of many folks today, just as it was 50 years ago. The media played a big part in painting all Vietnam vets with a broad brush as baby killers, and when in fact the troops did more for the Vietnamese families than the media would ever disclose. Good deeds don't sell newspapers. In war, there is always unintentional collateral damage. The American soldier tries to avoid it in any way possible, and in some cases the soldier can become unhinged and go off the rails due to the tremendous stress of battle. Until one has been through it, don't judge others. Vietnam was an unpopular war, but the men and women from America went over for one reason and one reason only: to defeat communism and let South Vietnam retain its democratic government. That goal was within reach. We only lost that war because our government lacked resolve. If you go to war, you fight to win. We soldiers did that. They did not. Time to heal the wounds of war long over. We pray for our brothers and sisters on this wall, as well as their families, and let us not forget the living veteran, the Vietnam veteran that left a part of their soul in the swamps and jungles of Vietnam. Many of them still live every day with the horrors of the service many years ago. May God bless them, the vets of all wars, and the troops who protect us today. We are here today in their honor and remembrance, in front of a wall that allows us to look upon the names, to see one's reflection in the granite, and in some way connect the past and the present. It's a connection between a great loss and a solemn promise that the heroes taken from us long ago will never be forgotten. Today's ceremony and the presence of this memorial here in Saugerties this week would not have been possible but for the efforts of a great many people, including Ulster County Executive Michael Hine, whose decision to bring the wall to Saugerties and to commit the county's attention, energy, and resources to help us properly honor the service and sacrifices of our veterans is deeply appreciated. It is now my pleasure to introduce the County Executive of Ulster County, Mr. Michael Hine, for our official welcome and opening remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, it truly is a glorious day here in Saugerties, New York, in a deeply patriotic Ulster County. The skies are blue and the sun is shining, just like yesterday when hundreds of thundering motorcycles led a motorcade that brought the Vietnam Traveling Memorial Wall here for all of us to see. As the Ulster County Executive, my heart filled with pride, knowing that our roads were lined with citizens flying American flags and showing great respect. But the truth is, my heart was also heavy with profound sadness. Sadness for those soldiers who never came home, sadness for their families, and a deep sadness for the disgraceful way many in our nation treated those who fought in the Vietnam War. I want to thank Tom for those kind words and for his honest account of the painful experience he shared with far too many Vietnam veterans. I am honored and humbled to share the stage with you, Tom, as well as Reverend Ness, and with the true national hero in Colonel Roger Donlin and his wonderful wife, Norma. It is also my great privilege to welcome all of you, as well as many officials, both military and civilian, who have joined us here today. I would like to welcome American Legion Commander Lenny Blue, New York State Division of Military and Naval Affairs Major General Anthony German, VFW Patriotic Instructor Edward Todd, Fred Costello, the Saugerties Town Supervisor, Bill Murphy, the Saugerties Town Mayor, Joe Sinagra, the Town of Saugerties Police Chief, Kyle Berardi, the Ulster Chief of Police. A special welcome to Phil Matrician, the Ellenville Chief of Police. Our Sheriff, Paul Van Blarkum. Shannon Harris, the Esopus Town Supervisor. Fred Costello, the Saugerties Town Supervisor. Michael Bodden, the Rochester Town Supervisor. And legislators from Ulster County. Minority Leader Hector Rodriguez. Herb Litz, Heidi Haynes, Dean Fabiano, and Lynn Archer. And I am deeply honored to welcome the families of United States veterans who were killed in the line of duty, our Gold Star families. While there are over 58,000 names on the wall before us, there are hundreds of thousands of others attached by a strong family bond whose lives were shattered by a Vietnam combat death over 40 years ago. We refer to these grieving families as Gold Star families, and they are held in the highest honor for their sacrifice. And they are recognized in every city, town, and village across our country by the Gold Star flag or banner. Such a flag stands here today in honor because there are 42 killed in action servicemen on this wall from Ulster County. And this area of seating in front is set aside in respect for our Gold Star families. Their loss can never be comforted. Their sacrifice can never be measured. We can only strive to repay an unpayable debt on behalf of a grateful nation. Please join me in a respectful round of applause to recognize these Gold Star family members for joining us here today. I also ask that we keep in mind those who died long after coming home from Agent Orange and other related illnesses. And let us never forget the haunting MIAs who simply never came home at all. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to share with you a brief story about how this monument came here to Saugerties, and I hope that it reminds us all of how meaningful ceremonies like this can be and how important it is that we honor, not just in words, but in deeds, the sacrifices of our men and women in uniform. Last year, I met with two women whose late husbands were Vietnam veterans. They came to me with a request. They knew more than most the importance of the wall, and they spoke of friends and acquaintances who, for many reasons, couldn't visit the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. And so they wanted instead to bring the wall here. I could see in their eyes their pain. but I also saw an extraordinary amount of love and a will to help others. And so we collectively began with the preparations for today. And I want to thank everyone involved, all of our veterans and citizens from all walks of life who came together to make this happen. I was humbled by everyone's passion and by their willingness to serve, and so my deepest gratitude goes out to American Legion Post 72, VFW Post 5034, our Veterans Advisory Group affectionately known as the Gang of Nine, and the town of Saugerties and the staff here at Cantine Field, and to the over 70 generous businesses and countless volunteers who contributed their time and resources. I also want to thank the United States Marine Corps Honor Guard and the representatives from far and wide who are here in uniform to present their colors, and our Veterans Service Agency and our Department of Public Works for their Herculean efforts, and to each and every one of you who are here showing your respect by sharing this very special moment. But there is one among us who I believe deserves a special thank you. A thank you that ultimately goes far beyond words, and his name is Colonel Roger Donlin. Ladies and gentlemen, in popular culture, we often throw around the term hero very loosely, and as a result, it's been cheapened by over-applying it to unworthy subjects. But in the truest sense of the word, Colonel Roger Donlin is the definition of an American hero. He's a highly decorated retired Army colonel who served in the Special Forces in Vietnam. He was, in fact, the very first recipient of the Congressional Medal of Honor for acts of valor in combat in 1964. Members of his Special Forces unit killed in action are listed on panel number 1 of the monument you see here today. And if you'd like to learn more about Colonel Donlin, and I urge you to do so, you'll learn about his selfless acts of bravery as he helped repel a brutal surprise attack on his outpost near Nam Dang on July 6, 1964. You'll hear how he was wounded not once, but 4 times as he ran from post to post, fighting, administering first aid to wounded compatriots, and rallying his men to defend their positions. Reports show that the scene was bloody, desperate, and relentless. But to hear Roger speak of it, you'll hear little mention of these experiences. You'll hear little of how his efforts saved hundreds of lives, sending countless soldiers home to their wives, sons, and daughters to live out their days in peace. Instead, you'll hear a humble man with deep regret because despite his best efforts, he was unable to protect them all. And so 2 names grace the wall behind me: Sergeant John L. Houston and Master Sergeant Gabriel R. Pop Alamo, reminding us of the horrible price of war. And 58,316 additional names alongside them who call out to us not only to remember them, but for us to respect the living who served beside them and now walk among us. So to all Vietnam veterans, including Colonel Donlin, we say thank you and God bless you on behalf of a deeply grateful nation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming home and to the podium a true American hero, Saugerties' own Colonel Roger Donlin.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Those words, welcome home, are the words that every warrior had ever set on the battlefield dreamt of, prayed for. And the lucky one of us got to hear those words once again, welcome home. December 28th, 1964, I came home a cold winter night, day rather, but the town of Saugerties was bubbling with warmth, with 35,000 people on the streets welcoming Roger home. That was early in the war. We heard already today that welcome home wore out, and my fellow veterans from Vietnam were not welcomed as I was here in Saugerties, New York. The welcome I received was a medicine that I needed, still licking my wounds 6 months after the battle. 6 months after that, welcome home, I had an opportunity to meet somebody in an airplane by chance. Turned out to be a young Gold Star wife. There was no other room on the plane, only one seat left. I invited her to sit next to me. She's sitting next to me today, 53 years later. Norma was wounded as I was, having lost her first love, First Lieutenant John L. Irving. I had to chase Norma for 3 years. And on 3 years, she inscribed on this wedding band a message that has kept me afloat for the last 50 years. I want to share it with you because I think it applies to all of us attending here today and the message that we're conveying. The message on this wedding band, and someday they'll find it engraved on my heart, simply states, what we are is God's gift to us. What we become is our gift to God. What we are is God's gift to us. What we become is our gift to God. This compass I hold in my hand is a compass that I received as a young Boy Scout here in Saugerties. It's special because of that, but even more special because it's war surplus compass. Not war surplus of World War II, but World War I, issued by the Corps of Engineers, by the quartermaster, which makes it even more special. Because my father, Paul Donlin, my brother Paul sits here in the front row, named after Daddy. Daddy served in World War I, and Paul served in World War II. Daddy set my compass at home, along with Mother. When I was not quite 10, Daddy was taken ill, but he had well enough to sign permission for me to become a Boy Scout. The lessons Daddy instilled in me and Mother here in Saugerties, which kept me on course the rest of my life. The lesson of hard work, don't be ever afraid of it. He also instilled in all of us that when you falter or when you get knocked down, get up immediately and get after the task at hand. Well, Daddy was instilling those lessons in our hearts. Mother instilled other lessons. Mother instilled in lessons the importance of prayer. I can hear her voice still saying, the family that prays together will stay together. So you're my extended family. We're here today in a thoughtful, prayerful way to remember all those that made the ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam. When we do that, we think of all those that made the ultimate sacrifice to keep our country alive since its very inception. And with continuance of ceremonies like this in small towns throughout America, we will be the inspiration for other small towns today and in the future, because there's going to be challenges in our future just as in the past. We have to be prepared, the motto of a Boy Scout, for challenges of the future. Knowing that we have towns like Saugerties and counties like Ulster will be an inspiration for our whole country. There's many things in my heart I would like to share with you, but I think I shared the most important thing. The family, the township, the county, this country that prays together stays together. Remember, in God we trust. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you today, and may God continue to bless and guide all of you. Amen.
As I mentioned a few minutes ago, there are 42 sons of Ulster County listed on the memorial before you. To assist visitors in finding these servicemen, a small gold star has been placed next to each of the 42 names. Once you know the panel number that the service member is on, the gold star will help you find him. In the tradition of memorial services, we will now honor these 42 fallen by reading their names and tolling the bell in their memory. Vietnam veteran Dave Crispell, 1966 to 1970, will toll the bell 42 times in their honor. These 42 Ulster County servicemen are also listed with honor in the commemorative program you received upon your arrival here today. Paul A. Bankert, 1967. John P. Brady, 1969. Robert G. Bull, 1968. Michael P. Carr, 1967. Richard W. Crawford, 1967. Walter J. Dart, Jr., 1969. Burton Decker, 1969. Raymond J. DiLorenzo, 1970. Peter M. Donovan, 1968. Carl F. Green, 1968. Harold S. Huggs, 1969. Louis P. Iorio, 1966. Joseph C. Jesek, 1970. Charles W. Johnson, 1967. Robert E. Johnson, 1967. Chester J. Joy, 1966. Paul Lewis, 1968. Joseph F. Long, 1968. Giuseppe Magri, 1969. Richard F. Malloy, 1966. Wayne C. Myers, 1968. Michael T. Newell, 1966. Thomas C. Newkirk, 1966. Alan P. Pagliaroni, 1968. William J. Partington, 1970. Robert C. Pita, 1968. Richard F. Quinn, 1970. James R. Riley, 1966. R.V. Ratvali, 1968. James Rundle, Jr., 1969. Michael P. Santorowski, 1967. Henry G. Schultz, 1969. John J. Sinor, 1969. Stephen A. Sherlock, 1969. Harry J. Sickler, 1964. William F. Steiger, 1966. Wallace F. Tibabu, 1969. Robert W. Tubby, 1967. Jose G. Viruet, 1968. Michael J. Winters, 1969. Raymond C. Wood, 1969. Robert F. Woodhouse, Jr., 1970. Presence here honoring the colors, honoring the fallen, and helping open the memorial wall. Some of these organizations worked in the background and contributed to help make this memorial a reality. Please give them a round of applause to express our gratitude for their work and for their service. Also, there is a group of 8 local Vietnam combat veterans who have worked tirelessly over the last 6 months to help bring the wall to Saugerties. Throughout the process, it was their voice that helped ensure that we got it right. Right for the fallen, right for the survivors, and right for the Vietnam veterans. What you see before you today is the fruit of their efforts, and we are deeply grateful for their hard work. They are humble and private, but you can find their names in the commemorative booklet near the listing of their 42 fallen comrades. Thank you, gentlemen. Bravo, Zulu. Well done. There are many Vietnam veterans among us here today. Some of you will recognize by their caps and shirts that attest to their proud service. Others choose anonymity. To all Vietnam veterans, this is your memorial, and we could not be more proud to have you here now and your brethren here over the next 4 days. You served in a time when your service and sacrifices were not appreciated by many, and that will remain a stain on our country's history. Nothing can undo the disrespect you endured over 40 years ago, but at least we can say today with conviction and sincerity, welcome home, brothers and sisters. And now in tribute and remembrance of the over 50,000 service members on the wall, a memorial wreath will now be presented. Norma Donlin, wife of Colonel Roger Donnell, will present the wreath, the wreath of remembrance to Dolly Deckert, sister of Private First Class James Riley, who was killed in 1966, and who graciously represents today the Gold Star families of the fallen.